Hello, and welcome to our Facebook Live. We are now Nursing News You Can Use at 5. And so it's kicking off the new year. Today is January the 4th, and it's our first session for January. Woo! Very excited. Hello to you that are on our Baxter Professional Services page and those that are on our Nurse Shark Academy page. And I want to say, didn't we have a great time on the Nurse Shark Academy Challenge group for our I'm Ready 3-day challenge? So if you didn't get a chance to attend live, you can certainly, if you're in the group, check out the replays. They will be there. I'm also going to put some of the replays on our Facebook nursing page, our Nurse Shark Academy page. And so I have some exciting announcements, but we'll get to those in a moment. Um, let's start off with our affirmations for today. So we're doing a new thing. It's 2023, and I got this inspirational daily calendar. Quotes are compiled by Lauren Dratch, Dratch. I got this from Amazon, so if you want one, you can always order them from Amazon. I really liked the colorfulness of it. I tried to find something that had some great inspirational thoughts for us that we can turn into affirmations. And so here's one. It says, "Every end is a new beginning." So I'm going to celebrate that new beginning. So recognizing that every end is a new beginning. So let's celebrate that new beginning. The second one is, "The darkest nights produce the brightest stars." The darkest nights produce the brightest stars. And we kind of talked a little bit about that in our challenge today, about how all the things that we've gone through make up the tapestry of our life. And it's sometimes through those trials that we come out stronger and brighter. And then lastly, it is up to you to see the beauty in everyday things. And so our affirmation would be, "I see the beauty in everyday things." And it could be something as simple as someone offering you a smile, a pretty flower, or maybe, a child's laughter. So this is where you can find beauty in everyday things. So these are our affirmations for today. Please keep them close to you. And again, you can pick up this calendar for Amazon. No, I don't have any affiliate links for this show, so Amazon's not paying me for that. I'm just letting you know where you can get it. All right, so here's for our What I Am Reading segment for today. And I know that some of you that that follow me may not be spiritual, but however, I wanted to let you know about what I am reading, and what I'm reading is the book of Proverbs. And even if you're not spiritual, there's so many things in here that you can learn that gives you wisdom for your life. I'm part of the 31-day wisdom challenge. We are on day 4, so I wanted to share this with you, what I am reading, and this is coming out of the Christian Standard Bible. And this is what I've learned. When you have truth, you come to it, right? And so even though you may not be spiritual, this is some great advice, right? So I'm reading from Proverbs 4, chapter 7 in the Christian Standard Bible. And it says, "Wisdom is supreme, so get wisdom. And whatever else you get understanding. Cherish her, and she will exalt you. If you embrace her, she will honor you. She will place a garland of favor on your head. She will give you a crown of beauty." Now, who would be offended at that? That we would say wisdom is the chief thing, wisdom is supreme, and so in your pursuits, pursue wisdom. And that's what I wanted to leave you with for our leadership moment, coming from the book of Proverbs, as I'm enjoying this 31-day challenge. And I thought I'd share that with you. And let's get on then now to, um, let's get on to our news. And because I've been doing so many different things today, I'm just a tad bit a little discombobulated today, but that's all right because I just hopped off of a podcast segment. Those of you know that I'm podcasting on our Nurse Shark Academy has a new podcast, and so I'm just doing those things too. So very excited about what's happening in 2023. So stay tuned for the end for the announcements. So let's just jump right into it because I found this kind of interesting. There's a few articles here today. This is coming from wavy.com. And this is out of the state of Virginia, out of Richmond, and it says, bill could set minimum staffing requirements for Virginia nursing facilities. A newly introduced bill could set minimum staffing requirements and consequences for certified nursing facilities that don't comply if it passes in Virginia's upcoming legislative session. HB 1446, introduced by Robert Dr. Orrick Sr. at the end of December, sets nursing staff mandates for these facilities and imposes administrative sanctions on those out of compliance. The bill has a delayed effect date of July 1st, 2026. So this isn't something that's going to happen right away. But let's see what's in this bill. And they said that a similar measure was presented by Betsy Carr during the 2022 legislative session, but was continued to 2023. So Joanna Heiskill with Justice and Change for Victims of Nursing Facilities has said these facilities are making a profit. Why is there a staffing shortage? Why aren't the nursing CNA, certified nursing assistants, and nurses being paid enough? And why isn't there enough staff to pay to facilitate quality care? Heiskill, and Tracy Pompey formed the group after each woman lost a loved one in a Virginia nursing facility. Pompey also used to work in the industry. There's no way you can give quality care if you have 25 patients and all of them you still have to showers to give, she said. Everybody still has to get up. So you're asking crazy demands with the little staff, and these companies, these corporations are making a profit on the back of these seniors and nursing facilities. According to December 22 survey results from the Virginia Healthcare Association's Virginia Center for Assisted Living, long-term care providers are still experiencing, quote, a severe workforce crisis exacerbated by the coronavirus pandemic. The data revealed that even though 2020 was the height of the clinical challenges of COVID-19, 86% of Virginia's nursing homes and assisted living facilities reported that their workforce situation worsened through 2022. VHCA-VCAL data also shows that nearly every such facility in the Commonwealth has asked staff to work overtime or take extra shifts, and that 82% reported having a shortage of staff to fill all shifts. So we'll see what is actually in the bill and what the staffing ratios are going to be. So we'll keep an eye on what's happening with this story, and we'll look further into it coming up. All right, let's move to our next story. This I found kind of interesting. This is a story that was published in the New York Times. And it says congressional inquiry into Alzheimer's drug faults its maker and FDA. The Food and Drug Administration's process for approving the Alzheimer drugs Aduhelm, I hope I said that right, Aduhelm, despite great uncertainty about whether it worked, was, quote, rife with irregularities, according to a congressional investigation released on Thursday. The agency's actions, quote, raised serious concerns about the FDA's lapses in protocol. The 18-month investigation initiated by 2 congressional committees after the FDA approved the drug also strongly criticizes Biogen, Aduhelm's manufacturer. Internal documents showed that the company set, quote, an unjustifiable high price of $56,000 a year because it wanted a history-making blockbuster to establish Alduhim as one of the top pharmaceutical launches of all time, even though it knew the high price would burden Medicare and patients, the report found. The FDA is now evaluating two other Alzheimer drugs for possible approval early next year, including one that Biogen helped develop. The congressional report said that the agency, quote, must take swift action to ensure that its processes for reviewing future Alzheimer's disease treatments do not lead to the same doubts about the integrity of the FDA's review. Representative Frank Pallone, a Democrat and chair of the House Energy and Commerce Committee, said in a statement that the report documents the atypical FDA review process and corporate greed that preceded the FDA's controversial decision to grant accelerated approval to Alduhim. So there's more to this story in the New York Times, but I wanted to share that with you so we can keep an eye on what's happening with the FDA process and what they're doing for these future Alzheimer's drugs. We do need better drugs for Alzheimer's care, working in long-term care. It's evident we need better drugs, and we want to alleviate the suffering that people have, but we want to make sure that the drugs are, one, safe and that they work before you get them to market. So those are some of the allegations. You can certainly read that in the New York Times article. I'm not going to obviously read the entire article to you, but I wanted to highlight that because there's a lot of questions about that new drug that's come out and what it can do. This is another story that just came out, and this is from a story about Massachusetts, and it says COVID nursing home deaths charges mulled by Mass High Court. I wanted to bring this out as a legal case because we're certainly seeing a ramping up of those cases when it's dealing with COVID and things like that. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this case because it may impact other states. It says lawyers representing two former nursing home managers were grilled on Wednesday in a Massachusetts High Court case over the COVID-related deaths of 76 resident veterans at the beginning of the pandemic. A decision in the case could determine whether nursing home leaders are bound by the same responsibilities not to commit neglect or mistreatment as direct caretakers. A lower court ruled that a superintendent and medical director don't count as caretakers under a Massachusetts law protecting residents from abuse. Justice Delilah Arguez Wendlandt said, "People are dehydrated, people are starving. You're really running an uphill battle trying to provide that merger of two floors in the facility didn't increase the risk that the veterans could catch COVID-19, she said. This was likely the first criminal case in the U.S. brought against nursing home staff for their response to the COVID-19 pandemic, State Attorney General Maura Healey said at a press conference announcing the manager's charges in 2020. COVID battered nursing homes at the onset of the pandemic and has caused more than 160,000 cumulative residents' deaths nationwide. The two managers decided to merge together two floors of elderly residents with dementia due to staffing shortages, forcing COVID positive and COVID negative residents to cohabitate. The key point the state needs to prove is that the manager's decision to consolidate the units increased the veterans' risk of harm. A grand jury found Holyoke Soldiers Home Superintendent Bennett Walsh and Medical Director David Clinton guilty for elder neglect and permitting serious bodily injury to an elder in September of 2020. The 5 named veterans in the case were all relocated from their rooms after being exposed to COVID-19 by their roommates. 3 days after the floors merged, several residents had died from COVID, according to Massachusetts' application for direct appellate review. So we're going to see what happens in this case because this could change some things across the nation. And so we're going to see what happens, and there's further information about this. So if you want to look this up, please do follow this information. This was provided by Bloomberg Law, so you can certainly look that up as well. All right, our next story comes from the great state of Connecticut. And it's kind of interesting because I just had someone talk about doing business in Connecticut. So Connecticut seems to be in my purview. So the nurses rally for staffing ratios. This is from the C2 News Junkie and Connecticut. And it says nurses from hospitals across Connecticut propped a tent on the state capitol lawn to draw attention to nursing shortages at hospitals and acute care settings across the state. They were hoping to catch lawmakers' attention as they convene for the opening day of the legislative session. The nurses are passionate about their jobs, but they said something needs to change because it's becoming unsafe for patient care. This is something, again, we've echoed all through the show, across the country and across the world. Nurses are speaking out about the unsafe conditions that are there. I am not trying to scare anybody. I'm not fear mongering or anything like that. I am just providing the information to let you know that nurses are speaking out, and we really are trying to do our best for our patients. The article goes on to say, so in California, they mandated a staff to patient ratio based on what a floor a nurse works on, and the grassroots groups which formed on Instagram is aiming for similar legislation in Connecticut. The Connecticut Hospital Association said that the pandemic has strained the workforce, but staffing to patient ratios are not the solution. Surprise, surprise. According to their statement, they said, working together, we need to expand this critical workforce to meet current and future patient needs. Nurse staffing ratios are not the answer to this dilemma. In fact, they would exacerbate the problem, causing delays in care and raising the costs with corporate nurse staffing agencies as the likely beneficiaries. Instead, hospitals and health systems are working with partners at the state in education and across healthcare to educate, train, and retain more nurses and other healthcare professionals in Connecticut. This, rather than ratios, is the right approach to support the healthcare workforce, protect patient access to care, and ensure a robust healthcare delivery system in our state. The C2 Nurses United Group, which met through social media, is just beginning to organize its efforts. They say that the nursing shortage started well before the pandemic and that the last 5 to 10 years it's increasingly gotten worse. According to the group, there are 89,344 licensed nurses in Connecticut, but only 44,086 are actively practicing. They say that the corporate model, this is a corporate model of healthcare to reduce staffing costs at all costs. Paul, who declined to give his last name for fear of retribution, said patients aren't getting the care that they need. He says hospitals are incentivized to short-staff nurses because it saves them money. And then this goes back to what I said earlier in our previous shows, that it's because nursing staffing is bundled into your hospital charge. So if you're in the hospital, that care that you get, those pills that they get, that monitoring that they do, it's all bundled into your room charge. And so you're not getting the full picture of what the nursing care would be. And so because you're not costing out nursing care, then they're wanting to reduce that staffing because they can't do anything more with it. So this is a problem that's going on across the nation, and I wanted to share that with you as we get ready to go to our next story, talking about New York. So New York is back in the news. This is from The Guardian, and it says thousands of nurses in New York City to strike in pursuit of a fair contract. At least 12,000 nurses at 7 hospitals in New York City are threatening to strike after their union contract expired at the end of last year. A strike date is set for January 9th. The nurses are pushing for the hospitals to implement and enforce safe staffing ratios, improve wages in line with inflation, and maintain health insurance coverage as opposed to proposed cuts by the hospitals. Nurses at Bronx Care, Montefiore, Mount Sinai Hospital, Mount Sinai Morningside and West, New York Presbyterian, and Richmond University Medical Center voted in favor of a strike authorization, with 98% voting in support at the end of December 2022. Another 4,000 nurses at New York Presbyterian reached a tentative agreement on January 1st. Four additional hospitals, Interfaith Medical Center, Kingsbrook Jewish Medical Center, the Brooklyn Hospital Center, and Wyckoff Heights Medical Center, representing 1,200 nurses with the New York State Nurses Association, are still in the process of voting, but are expected to authorize a strike as well. Hospital management are the ones that are causing the strike, not the nurses. We are ready to work, ready to negotiate in good faith. All they have to do is give us a fair contract, said Nancy Higgins, the NYSNA president and frontline nurse at Maimonides Medical Center. You have some of the richest hospitals in the world where the CEOs are making $10 million a year, and in some cases I've heard like $16 million. They are working through Zoom. We are here every day on a day-to-day basis, putting our lives at risk at the height of the pandemic, and yet they're telling us that pretty much they don't need us. Higgins said New York State has passed a bill to implement safe staffing ratios across the state in 2021, but the legislation is not yet in force, meaning nurses have to do more with less staffing and resources. So these are the issues that are happening before us. There's more to this article if you want to read it in The Guardian. Please follow up, but I just wanted to share what's happening across the nation and nursing. And then lastly, because it seems that they want to say that the cure for nursing is to find new students and get them out there. Well, this is an article that was in Medscape News. And it says nursing exam failure rates spark review of test results. And this is something we reported on earlier that was happening in Canada, but now there's issues here as well. And so I wanted to share this with you. And it says nursing oversight groups in the United States and Canada are holding the line on testing standards as more would-be nurses fail entry exams. As a result, pressure is growing to make tests easier to pass, given widespread nursing shortages, and some critics wonder whether the exams accurately assess students' true abilities. When it comes to training more nurses to keep up with growing demand, the U.S. organization that oversees the main licensing exams for nurses decided earlier this month not to change the passing standards for entry-level tests. Meanwhile, nursing test examiners have seen a drop in passing rates for nurses taking the standard licensing exam since the pandemic began. And remember, we talked about that part of the issue is that a lot of these students, their training had been disrupted because of the pandemic. They were shifted to online programs when the facility might not have been equipped to handle it. The students, their clinical rotations might have been cut short. So we're seeing a lot of problems here. And so, as reported earlier on the show, they report in this article that a similar scenario also is unfolding in Quebec, where the agency overseeing nurse licensing exams announced last month it is holding the line on its passing rates despite an outcry from nurses after more than half of those taking the exam in September failed. Quebec's Commissioner for Professional Admissions is investigating dozens of complaints from nurses about the failure rate. Nurses who failed the test can sign up to retake it in March. So again, this is something that's going on. The hospitals are saying, oh, we just need to open up more spots in nursing schools and get these nurses out there into the field. But it takes time to do that, and you have to have the proper support system in place for these students. You just can't expect them to absorb everything and then be able to pass the test and implement safe practice. So those are some of the things that I wanted to share with you today. That's going to end our news segment. There is no segment that I have for Nurse Making a Difference today, but I did want to say about our announcements. So we just finished our I'm Ready Nurse Business Challenge. We had a 3-day challenge from noon to 1 and roughly, and we talked about celebrating our wins the first day. The second day was changing our mindset and doing that inner work, and the third day today was all about setting our goals. And so we have new things that are coming down the pike for those of you that are in the Nurse Shark Academy. I'm ready to roll them out. We have a brand new website. So we now have a brand new website for the Nurse Shark Academy. I'm going to post that in the show notes and make sure that you get access to that. I'm very excited about our new website. Also, we have a new podcast for the Nurse Shark Academy, the Nurse Shark Academy show, where we interview nurse business owners and leaders. So join us for that. That podcast is available on Podbean and where you get your podcast soon. It will be at the other places like Apple, but you can get it on Spotify. You can get it on our website. You can get it on Samsung, iHeartRadio. So get your podcast where you get your podcast and join us. Like it, share it with other people so that we can grow our podcast audience. And then also, if you're a nurse and you own a business, let me know, and then maybe we can have you on the show and you can tell your story. The goal of the podcast is for nurses to be able to tell their story and share their entrepreneurial journey with the rest of us. And because I've been talking all day, you can hear it, I'm beginning to lose my voice, so I'm going to wrap it up really soon. The other thing that is in development, is not quite ready yet, but soon will be coming. We will have an app for the Nurse Shark Academy. Yes, a mobile app that you can actually get in when you are a member and make your appointments, go to your training. You can do that right from your phone. So you'll now have the website, you'll have your mobile app, you'll have all the different ways that you can contact us with the Nurse Shark Academy. So we're very excited about all these things that are coming up. And I want to thank you for tuning in. Again, like the video, leave me a few comments and let me know what you think about the new things that are coming out, if you're excited for them. And then thank you for being with us today. Have a great rest of your week and Happy New Year.